What's up, everyone? Welcome on back to another episode of Golf on Tap. We're going to be breaking down the 123rd edition of the U.S. Open. Of course, Wyndham Clark with a massive victory, his second in the last couple of weeks here, first major championship. We might have a superstar on our hand here with the way Wyndham Clark has been playing as of late. As always, I'm Jack Bushman here with my partner in crime at Joey Knows Nothing. Make sure to go and check out On Tap Sportsnet for all things Chicago sports. We got Bulls, Blackhawks, two terrible Chicago baseball teams, except not as of late. The Cubbies have finally started picking it back up. You can get more all about that at On Tap Sportsnet. And make sure to go and follow On Tap Golf on Twitter as well. And for all of those of you who are tuned in at this very moment, make sure to go and jump into the YouTube version of this live stream. That way you can go and comment. We can interact with you. You can let us know your favorite picks for this week's Travelers Championship, the final elevated event of the PGA Tour season. We always love interacting with all the listeners out there, so make sure to go and jump into YouTube to do all of that. Joey, what a massive victory for Wyndham Clark at the U.S. Open last week, and what another massive major victory for you, my friend. 4 consecutive major championships. Cam Smith at the Open last year, Jon Rahm at the Masters, Brooks Koepka at the PGA, and probably most impressive of them all, I believe you had Wyndham Clark at 80-1 to win this U.S. Open. Obviously, a little bit of a shocker. I did see some folks out there in the golf community and the betting community that did have him, but there were pretty few and far between, so a really impressive outright there. He was someone that we talked about numerous times last week leading up to the tournament, and of course, I talked about how much I liked Wyndham Clark, but my love for Corey Conners just continues to fuck me in more ways than one. So that hurt a little bit, although I did still wind up with a profitable week thanks to Wyndham Clark, which I'll get into a more here in a second. But first and foremost, buddy, talk to me about how you're feeling following this Windy City U.S. Open victory. He's been playing outstanding golf, and we stay hot in the major championships with another W. How you doing?
Doing good, Jack. It's good to be back on the mic after, like you said, another big major win for your boy. The Windy City Flyer is in effect. Devin Hester better watch out, because Wyndham Clark is coming. Yeah, man, hitting an 80-1 ticket in this day and age at a major is like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn too much, whatever, but like you said, I don't think there were too many people that were on it, and I tried to talk you into it. I know you really liked him a lot. Your boy Corey Conners, though, took over your soul, took over your mind a little bit there, but of course, and I thought Corey Conners was going to have a good tournament too. So it was kind of, I wasn't going to talk you out of that, of course.
I don't think anyone can talk me out of Corey Conners at this point. I'm too in deep, man.
You're in it. You're in it. You're in it to win it until he does win it, and that's pretty much just how it goes with you and Corey Conners and that kind of relationship you guys have. But and not to sell you short at all. You called the correct score. You said whoever gets to double digits is winning this tournament. And that's exactly what happened with Wyndham Clark. And, I think there was a part of me that the entire fourth round just did not feel certain about this, because you have Rory breathing down his neck, playing electric golf, who just couldn't get putts to roll in. But he was magnificent. He really was. He just couldn't get the putts to fall. Especially, down the stretch there. But, Ricky played an outstanding tournament. Outside of, he was just boom or bust the entire time. It was either birdie or bogey, as we kind of talked about off air. And then Xander, the X gonna give it to you, man. Wow. You talked about that being one of the worst or most heartbreaking third rounds that you watched. As a golf fan. And yeah, man, I really thought this was his tournament to kind of the whole time, Wyndham's up there, these guys are up there, and I'm still thinking it's not going to be Wyndham that gets us the outright. It's going to be Xander Schauffele, because he's right there. And then, no, of course not. So all around, though, just an awesome tournament. I know some people were complaining about the broadcast and things of that nature, but I liked it. I mean, I didn't get a chance to watch as much as I would have liked to because Father's Day weekend, a lot of things going on. I was at Wrigley on Saturday, so there were a little bit of things like cutting into my just wanting to sit in front of my TV and watch. But that's why they make cell phones, and you can kind of take the streaming services with you a little bit. So I was doing a lot of that, out to restaurants and propping it up on the table. But yeah, overall, man, great tournament. Let's get another outright. I'm ready to do this thing again. And I think one thing we can confidently say, whether it's not going to, I don't think it's going to be this week necessarily again. I don't see back-to-back, especially after such a huge win. But Wyndham Clark, the Windy City Flyer, is for real. I think he's for real, especially if you win a major. You're for real.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Before we hopefully kind of continue this momentum over onto this week's Travelers Championship, we do got a lot to parse through from this U.S. Open and stuff that I definitely wanted to talk about here on the show. You just mentioned a good amount of it. First, let's start with Wyndham Clark. You mentioned we might have a guy who could be just, kind of getting the tip of the iceberg here and really could be one of the premier players on the PGA Tour. I truly believe that with the game that he has. I mean, he was spectacular for the most part all tournament long. An absolute stripe show off the tee, hits the ball as long as anyone, and the short game was really what won him this tournament. I mean, how many ridiculous up and downs and all the trouble that he got himself out of, even when I think it was on 8 where he lost it in the bush and he took a whack at it and came up empty, and it was like,
yeah,
oh boy, like here we go. And then to still get up and down and save bogey there, like it just always felt like he was so composed. And even though he had never been in that moment, I thought he handled it beautifully. And that really shows me that this guy has the game physically and also mentally to get the job done when the stakes are at the highest. So I was really impressed with Wyndham Clark. I did, like I said, have a little bit of a sweat, not in the outright market, but I actually have a buddy who does golf pools with some of his family and friends and whatnot. And he doesn't know shit about golf. So he just has me choose his players each and every week. And it so turns out that we were in the hunt on Sunday, needed Wyndham Clark to win in order to win the pool, and he ends up cashing it. So
let's go.
Yeah. So my buddy, nice guy that he is, split half of that pot with me since I did all the golf research leading up to the week. So still wound up being a pretty profitable week. Wyndham Clark gets the job done. Tried to throw it away there a little bit with bogeys on 15 and 16, but Rory McIlroy just was stuck in neutral all day long. And part of me agrees that Rory did play it good. I mean, he hit 16 of 18 greens in regulation. He was spectacular from tee to green, but man, the Sundays it keeps slipping out of his grasp. And also to hear him say after the tournament, I heard that in the scorer's tent when he was signing his scorecard, he looked to his caddy and said it's St. Andrews all over again, where he just couldn't make a putt on Sunday and Cam Smith wound up chasing him down. That one, though, I think Cam Smith beat him. Wyndham Clark did win this tournament, make no mistake about it, but it was there for the taking for Rory McIlroy. Yeah. It was as good of an opportunity as really he's had since 2014. And I think that's one that he's going to look back at and say, man, all I had to do was shoot 1 under par to get into a playoff on Sunday, and he only made 1 birdie. Man, it's got to be frustrating for Rory McIlroy, but he continues to kind of press that door. I'm torn. I don't know how to think about this because on one hand, Rory's finishing in second place at the U.S. Open and continuously being at the top of the leaderboard, but it's also a negative that he's not closing the door. What are your thoughts on that?
It's kind of, it's the same that you're kind of feeling, I think. It's I know going into this tournament, I just have not had much trust in him. And maybe that's because of just the inability to close the door. And maybe it's just, it's hard to say pressure with a guy like that, right? It's hard to say pressure when a guy has literally faced every amount of pressure that you can in the golf world. And you see what's happened with him and how bad we have all felt for Rory. And I know as a golf community, golf fans were really rooting for Rory there because Rory's pretty much been stabbed in the back, right? Just recently. So, and we talked about that before the show. We were like, maybe he just goes out there and he just takes it out on his game. He just is locked in. He's focused. And that was pretty much the case up until, getting on the green in that final round. And it's like, man, I feel for him. I really do. Because, just a little adjustment here or there. And you're talking about him winning maybe even 11 under, 12 under, right? So I don't know. It's not. I'm not going to take this. I'm kind of going to look at it each individual tournament still and just do the breakdowns that way. Not necessarily make any sort of like grand, I don't know, speculation, whatever it is on just Rory itself. But like you do lose a little bit of trust in him and maybe his ability to close the door at this point in his career. And maybe, he figures it out and this guy just runs off, a couple more majors here in the next year or two. And I could see that as well. But yeah, he did still finish second. So it's very hard, man. I'm with you on all that situation.
One last thing I will say about Rory that's kind of been talked about too is with this being 9 years now that he's got one major left at the Open Championship this season, of course. But if he doesn't get the job done here, he's going to be creeping up on 10 years since he won his last major championship. And I just wonder, having not won a major under his current caddy and, good longtime best friend, Harry, I do wonder if Rory's thinking whatsoever, like maybe like just something has to change here. And I know Rory is someone who reads the putts by himself. He doesn't really get any information from Harry there. And I wonder if that could be part of it. Like maybe it's time to start getting second eyes on some of the putts here because things have been going great up until that point. So just an interesting situation there for Rory McIlroy. Probably the most disappointing second place, that he's had. I mean, he's had numerous runner-up finishes in majors too, but this one might take the cake considering everything that went along with it. I think we also got to talk for a moment about Los Angeles Country Club because there was a lot of, I guess you could say, controversy about it throughout the week. I was happy to see that for the second consecutive major, though, I did correctly predict the winning score, despite there being 2 8-unders in the opening round, which I think fairly drew some criticism right out of the gate. But I was really happy and fully expected the USGA to bounce back in a big way the remainder of the tournament because they were not going to be made a fool of. And all in all, like I know there's a lot of different takes on LACC. As far as a course perspective, I thought it was awesome. Like I thought it lived up to the expectations. I thought it played challenging. Obviously, like there weren't a lot of birdies out there, particularly on the back nine. The only gripe that I really had with the course was the 18th fairway, because to be honest, Wyndham Clark's drive should have been fucking on the moon. That drive on 18 was awful. And the fact that it was in the fairway, probably just not the closing hole that you want at a US Open when the stakes are at their highest and like you're supposed to be that type of nervous. Wyndham Clark had a nervous shot and he didn't get punished for it. So that was my kind of one critique about the course. But other than that, I really liked what LACC provided. The only thing I hated was the stuffy LACC members that tried to take all the tickets, like trying to not have as many golf fans in there because it's their prestigious club in the first major and 80 years in Los Angeles. And we're on Lionel Richie's property over there. Like bunch of bullshit. I heard the vibes were down. The attendance was not as highly as it is for most US Opens because there were restrictions there. The course was spectacular. Everything else that came with LACC, fucking, they don't deserve a major championship, honestly, for the fan support that should be there. These guys were teeing off on the first tee and it was like no one was clapping for them. It was like, dude, this is pretty pathetic.
I'm glad you pointed that out because, the first thing I brought up was TV coverage and all that, but that's a weekly topic. I mean, it really is. It's the broadcast, it's the TV coverage, it's the lack thereof, it's yada, yada. But the fact that you don't have the vibe there for fans in attendance and that nature for a major, I mean, that is very, very noticeable. So I tend to agree with you. I don't really want this to be a major. Like, I would love this if this was an elevated event or designated event where it's just a different tournament, you give it a different name. A major like that without fans and, like you said, it wasn't without fans necessarily, but
it felt like it. It felt like it.
It felt like it, and it also was like I've heard stuff from golfers or seeing, comments about the vibe too, and they didn't like it. So it wasn't just us, the fans, like watching from home. It was kind of like they also had that same type of perspective. I think some of them, at least. Other golfers, they probably just go out there and they golf their game and they don't really care. They're not really like listening to fans and all that. But like the back and forth interactions, like what was the only thing that we really saw? Was it the Ricky thing that where he's like, what was that, Ricky, or whatever? And he's like looking over there, and like you just really didn't get a whole lot there. And maybe that's kind of new school mentality, I guess. I don't know. Like I personally just love seeing interactions and love hearing crowd noise and things like that. It's a reason why we really like Waste Management, right? Not to that extreme level, of course, being in a normal major, like we call that, the fans major, whatever we call it. But I still would love to see that. So I'm glad you pointed that out. But yeah, Jack, we got something to get to today. So what are your kind of final thoughts, I guess, on the tournament itself and how it played out? Like, what about your bets? Like, what did you feel good about? What did you not feel good about after, place? Because you did call that, though. You said things would stiffen up a little bit after that Thursday where everyone's shooting, close to double digits under. It just wasn't the case the rest of the tournament. And you pointed that out when we were texting back and forth. So, but I'm curious kind of like your final, I don't know, your summary thoughts, I guess, on the U.S. Open, because it was a fun major overall, just a lot of lacking aspects to it, I think.
Absolutely. The course was spectacular, but major championships, especially the nation's major championship, deserves rowdy, drunk golf fans. Like that's what needs to be in attendance at major championships. You need the atmosphere to be electric. LACC did not provide that. They were even like, I heard trying to hand out tickets in LA, and it's just tough to sell people to go to a golf tournament in LA when there's other things to do in that city. You know what I mean? So I'll probably pass on it moving forward. I thought the course was excellent, but the vibes just certainly weren't there. The last thing I will say too, I know we got other stuff to get to. The TV coverage was just a fucking shit show again. And I know it's every week. This is nothing surprising, but how much of a disservice they do diehard golf fans is truly unbelievable. We have fucking two pairings left in contention on 17 and 18. And we're still having to say, here's the shot from a few moments ago. I don't need to watch Rory's prep and looking at his line for 2 minutes before he's going to go and miss a 60-footer. Show me the actual golf. And Paul Azinger, this is also a known thing in the golf community too, absolutely terrible. And he kept doubling down on being wrong. Like the shot Wyndham Clark hit off the hill that rolled back to the hole like 20, 25 feet. The second he hit it, he's like, that's not rolling down. And then he doubles down again, says that's not rolling down. He was ridiculous, doesn't keep in touch with what's really going on in the game. It's just such a disservice, man, truly what they do. And the guys that they show over other people, as a Xander backer, it was almost like he wasn't there on Friday and Saturday. Like they weren't showing Xander at all. You wouldn't have even known he was a California native. He didn't exist. It was
Friday. Really pissed me off.
They started the Peacock stream like 45 minutes late. The broadcasters were dog shit. The coverage is so bad, and I don't understand what they think they're doing, because it's very apparent to everyone it's not good enough. Show me the golf. That's all I want. Show me the golf. It's not that hard.
Well, they're making it all about themselves. Like that's the part that I have a problem with too, with the broadcast, not only the TV coverage, but the announcing side of it. Like, stop making it about yourself. Maybe don't make these proclamations about what things are going to happen after a shot. Just let it play out and then speak on it, right? It's like ridiculous. I'm cool with that. That's where golf is different than many other sports. You don't have to comment the play-by-play of each individual thing. You can let them play out and then talk about it. You can let it like kind of marinate a little bit. It's supposed to be that casual, like, feel to it, vibe to it as a viewer, right? And sometimes we don't have that even, but then you're missing tee shots from guys that are in contention. It's like, how did the fuck did he get over here? Because you showed the replay now. Like, come on, dude. Like, what are you showing us? And that really irritates me. Like I said, I didn't get to watch as much as I wanted to, but the stuff that I did get to see, it's just awful. And yeah, we talk about it every week, Jack, but it doesn't make it any better, especially for a game that's growing. You are growing right now. Take advantage of it. Capitalize on it. Grow your game some more. Don't push away the fans that are actually interested in the game by not showing them what they want. Give the people what they want. So I'm in total agreement with you on all those things. But I guess we should probably look ahead to this week, because as great as the U.S. Open was, we have another elevated and designated event here this week. The Travelers Championship, as it takes shape there at Cromwell, Connecticut, TPC River Highlands. It's a Pete Dye course. 40th year that it's hosted this tournament, as you pointed out in your article. Par 70, just over 6,800 yards. Curious to see what you came up with here as far as main stats and just what your research kind of pulled out of it. It's a familiar course, but there's always like diving into it a little deeper. And I know you do that every week, Jack. So what are you thinking here about the Travelers Championship and TPC River Highlands?
Yeah, TPC River Highlands is a really unique course compared to what we usually see for PGA Tour events, and most certainly for elevated events. You mentioned it's one of the shortest courses on the PGA Tour, one of the only ones that comes in shorter than 7,000 yards, and plays as a par 70. There's only 2 par 5s, a ton of par 4s, but I guess the biggest thing that I should start off with here is that TPC River Highlands really provides an opportunity for every type of golfer to win. And I think that's what makes it such an intriguing venue for a designated event, because you get all these big name guys, and it makes for certainly the strongest field that TPC River Highlands has ever hosted. But it also is still a course that plays relatively easy. We usually see the winning score somewhere between 15, 16, and 20 under par. I'd probably guess it gets close to 20 or maybe even into the 20s, considering how good this field is. But there's just a lot of scoring opportunities everywhere. All that's really required is to play a clean game from tee to green. You don't want to be in the rough here at TPC River Highlands. It is one of the only defenses. It's 4-inch rough, but we've been seeing a lot of tight and narrow fairways on the PGA Tour. This is the widest ones we've seen in quite some time. So still not even the most difficult fairways to hit. And then really, Joey, with the yardage being so short, I mentioned there's 12 par 4s here. 10 of them are going to be shorter than 450 yards. The 2 par 5s are for the most part going to be reachable in 2 shots. So it's not the long irons that we've been seeing recently. It's actually the opposite. It's the wedges. That's really the name of the game here at TPC River Highlands. And you've also historically needed a really hot putter in order to take advantage of those scoring opportunities and to reach a low enough score in order to win. So theoretically, it's just a clean game off the tee box, hitting it to, your wedge range, $125, $150, $175, and then sticking it close and making your putts there. That's kind of the buildup that you're really looking for at this course. So obviously approach is going to be a key, but with the wedges coming into play so often, I really have been looking at 125 to 150 yards and 150 to $175. I think fairways gained is probably a stat that you want to look at, as well as opportunities gained. And then also putting, like I said, that's been really important historically here at the Travelers Championship. These are bent grass greens, kind of. They also are mixed with POA a little bit, and kind of get some shades of the West Coast putting surfaces a little bit here out in Cromwell, Connecticut. So it's a really interesting course. I think it is very open to a lot of players, and that's what makes the betting board so intriguing this week, Joey. Even though it is a elevated event, like I said, I think it is really up for grabs for any type of skill set here.
Totally agree. I think this is something, it's a spot where, because there's stronger golfers this week, I don't know what's going to happen as far as who's going to win this, but I feel like anyone can. So I'm coming off the win. I'm kind of just feeling like maybe let's just throw a few more darts down the board this week. I wouldn't care if I didn't win an outright this week if I have like somebody who's longer down the board in contention and I'm feeling like I have a shot that way. And it just, I don't know, maybe the time is changing a little bit. We're shifting a little bit more where we can see some longer guys start to compete and start to win anyways. Because there's always inevitably some guys that are in contention but not always winning. But this is a course, like you said, as it's being shorter yardage, this is a course where these guys can compete. And historically, it seems like the guys that do well here consistently do well. So I'm taking that approach a little bit too, maybe some prop markets that we'll get into with some of these golfers. But looking at the past winners, a guy we were very heavily on last week, X-Man. X gonna give it to you. Xander Schauffele won it last year. The year before that, Harris English, who was really good last week at the U.S. Open. DJ, Chez Reavie, Bubba Watson, Jordan Spieth, Russell Knox, Watson before that even, and then Kevin Streelman. So wide variety and range of different type of golfers, as you've kind of alluded to here. So I'm intrigued, and I'm wondering where you're kind of headed here with this board. It sounds like you kind of have a little Joey approach this week.
I might, but before we do get to that, I thought you brought up some good points there that I didn't necessarily touch on. You said guys do tend to play relatively well here year after year, and you see some of the same names pop up at the top of the leaderboard. It's definitely true at the Travelers Championship, and honestly is just kind of true for all of Pete Dye's courses. Like you just kind of see the same guys pop up there, and at the same time, I've also seen some crossovers in the leaderboards at the Valspar Championship, kind of oddly enough. And then the West Coast as well, Torrey Pines, Riviera, even the Waste Management Phoenix Open. We've seen kind of some of the same players pop up there. Dustin Johnson is someone who's won both on the West Coast and here. Same with Bubba Watson, obviously 3-time winner at the Travelers Championship. But yeah, a really up for grabs tournament still, and any type of skill set has an opportunity. You can even still be a bomber and get the job done. That's how Bubba did it. That's how Dustin Johnson did it. But you've also seen short guys like Chez Reavie and Kevin Streelman win. So it's a mixed bag of winners. And yeah, I'm excited to kind of talk through this betting board with you and see what you're kind of taking a look at as we get into things here.
Well, with that said, looking at the top, I mean, it does feel like a Scotty week.
Isn't every week?
That's what I'm saying. It's every week is a Scotty week. I don't know. Dude, he floats around every tournament, and it's like just this annoyance, like gotta swat the fly type of feeling when he's like around T5 or whatever he's around, and then, finishes up near the top again. What did he finish this last week? Was it third?
Third?
Yeah, I mean,
Joey, 17 straight top 12s.
What?
17 straight. He plays in the hardest events, plays in all the designated events and majors. 17 straight top 12.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it was that now. Wow.
Unbelievable. And he putted pretty well at the US Open, honestly.
What's his prop market for a top 5? Is it
plus,
like minus 110?
If it's plus money, you might have to take it. Like,
you just
he's
take
there
it
every week. He's there every week.
You can't even bet top 10 without getting minus money. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if a top 5 is like minus 110, like minus 130. I don't know, man. But you kind of talked about like waste management and stuff too. Waste management, Scotty. I mean, I don't know. There's a reason why he's 6.5 to 1. And the rest of the board doesn't even come close to until 11.5 to 1. By the way, I'm using BetRivers, our sponsor, enhanced odds here to look at these odds. So shop around as always, but check out BetRivers. Enter the promo code ONTAP if you're not already on BetRivers to get a deposit match up to $250. And then maybe just put all your money on Scotty Scheffler because, he's going to be there just for a top 5 at least anyways. But yeah, Jack, Scotty at the top, 6.5 to 1. Patrick Cantlay, 11.5 to 1. Rory, 11.5 to 1. John Rahm, 11.5 to 1. All using those enhanced offers. And then 15 to 1, Xander Schauffele. So I'll let you kind of kick us off here. Top of the board, anybody?
Probably going to be a pass for me this week, quite honestly. A lot of good cases still to be made, of course. We just talked about Scotty. We talked about him at the Waste Management. Well, John Rahm is a big West Coast killer. Hasn't really played here all that frequently in his career and hasn't found all that much success, but still an intriguing option, I think. The one that I'd probably be most towards leaning to if I were betting at the top, just for the sake of conversation, would be Patrick Cantlay. And kind of the way I'm shaping my card this week, and look, it could be completely wrong. It could be right, but it's just the way that I'm shaping my card this week. I'm more so going to base my card off of players who weren't fucking heartbroken at the US Open last week and also who didn't maybe have the most grueling stretch. And Patrick Cantlay, as he usually does, backdoored his way into the top 15. Didn't really have, I'm sure there's still stress in playing a US Open. And while he did underwhelm at a major, that's, a narrative that I'm sure he doesn't love. But I do still think he finished the tournament in good form and wasn't necessarily dealing with the pressure of the high-end guys that maybe are coming off a deflating loss last week. So Cantlay would be the one that I'd be most interested in. I do, as always, have some thoughts on Xander, but I'm just not going to get there at 15-1. I wouldn't be shocked if he wins this tournament. He's a good fit, and I've been on Xander a lot lately, and that's what makes it like this tough, difficult decision for me to pass on him. I just think the emotional roller coaster of not getting it done the weekend that he had, shooting over par in all of those final days, or I think he shot even on Friday, but still a very disappointing weekend, not getting it done in, his hometown. Like, that's got to be a tough emotional feeling for Xander coming off that. So it's a pass for me on all fronts, but I'd go Cantlay and Xander are the 1 and 2 that I'd be looking at the most. What about you? You got any plays up here this week?
No, but you make great points. I could make a case for all these guys but Rory this week. I know that sounds horrible, especially what he did this past week outside of, the final, not being able to make putts in the final round. But I just don't see, like, he has the most like balloon pop feeling to me. It is Rory this week. So, but I agree with you on Xander too, because he was up there in contention and just, let the air out of the bag a little bit. But I'm going right back to the well with Xander. I am. It's hard to be as good of a golfer as he is and sound golfer, all around, well-rounded golfer. It's hard to be still among the top standing players in above expectation rankings for a course, because generally he's expected to do well, right? So he's among the top and above expectations for this course. I'm firing it up again after a championship last year here. And then, T10 at the LACC, obviously, but we know that probably should have been a better standing or finish for him. But I still think I'm going to go back to the well. If there's one guy at the top I'm paying for, do agree, though, I would put Patrick Cantlay second, Scotty actually first. So, but I'm not paying 6.5 to 1. So just looking at the top there. But yeah, I'm going back to the well, I think, with Xander 15-1. Victor Hovland, 18-1. Colin Morikawa, 25-1. Tony Finau, 31-1. Matthew Fitzpatrick is 35-1. Fleetwood, 35-1. And Tom Kim, also in that same range, 35-1. Could make some strong cases here for these guys too. Morikawa, I mean, it's going to have to putt here. I think you're going to have to make a ton of birdies here. Like you said, maybe the score could be like 20 under. I don't know. Your thoughts here in this range from Vic to Tommy Fleetwood, or actually Tom Kim, sorry.
Yeah, lots of interesting names in this range for sure. A lot of guys that are garnering attention. I'm starting my card with Colin Morikawa. And look, you did reference, that's probably my biggest concern is he really going to make enough putts to get to 18, 19, 20 under? But I really do think, despite not having the best results here historically, he hasn't played here since 2020, and it should be a really good fit for him, right? For what he does. The biggest, thing that gives him issues in major championships is the distance off the tee. Just doesn't have much of it, but he's one of the most accurate guys off of the tee. 6th this year on tour. in fairways hit and regulation percentage. And also, I think quietly has been starting to find his game. The approach numbers, the ball striking numbers, they've returned to that peak high end level form. And we've started to see him post some better results. He was 26th, I want to say, at the Charles Schwab, the PGA Championship, T29 at the Charles Schwab, and was also 2 shots off the lead going into that Sunday at the Memorial, where he unfortunately had to withdraw due to some back spasms. But I thought he answered those questions about any concerns of the back spasms kind of flaring up at the U.S. Open. Finished T14 there, and as he always does, good ball striking numbers. But one thing that has me encouraged is since we've seen this change to the bent grass style courses, he's gained strokes with the flat stick in 3 of his last 4. And I referenced, you see some POA in these greens. That's what you get in California, the state he grew up in, the state he usually performs the best in as well. So I think Collin Morikawa is just simply too good of a fit here. And the ranges like 100 to 125 yards, 150 to 175. He's top 20 in all of those. Proximity to the hole, like, he rates out really highly in all the ranges where the shots would be coming from. So I really do like Morikawa's fit on these courses, the more positional, stylistic courses that we see out of Pete Dye. And I also think that, like I said, the way I'm shaping my card this week, I'm looking for guys who are going to be hungry the week after a major championship. And Collin Morikawa is approaching 2 years since that last victory of his. And man, he's got to be chomping at the bit, seeing a lot of guys, go Wyndham Clark go out there and win his first major championship. Like, I really think Collin Morikawa is desperate to get back in that winner's circle. So that's kind of the narrative that I'm going with this week. So that's why I started with Collin Morikawa at 25-1. But I do think there's some good names in here too. Tom Kim wasn't 35-1. I probably should have jumped on him when he was like 60 to open up the week. I would be there, but I just can't do it at an elevated event at that number. Not after just kind of 1 or 2 good rounds to kind of turn things around. The other one that I'd be interested in is my boy Tommy Fleetwood, just playing such good golf, man. Just continues to play incredible golf. Can you get over that hurdle? Man, just seems like it's not going to happen, but the numbers all suggest Tommy Fleetwood. So for me, Morikawa is already locked in, and then I have some thoughts on Tommy Fleetwood. But what are your thoughts here? Because I even think Tony Finau and Matt Fitzpatrick are both intriguing options as well. So what are your thoughts on this range? Where are you going?
I think both of those guys that you last mentioned, Fitzpatrick and Finau, have to be super hungry right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We saw Matt Fitzpatrick win out of a major at the RBC Heritage.
Yeah, I mean, those are 2 guys that I was not considering until sometimes you have to just hear the name out loud said. Those 2 names actually kind of intrigued me, but I have not bet either one of them. And I told you off air, I haven't placed an actual bet yet, and I'm actually really pissed now because Tom Kim was one that I wrote down as I'm going to bet, and you're telling me he was 60-1 to open the week. I didn't look at opening odds. So
we missed some good numbers this week.
That pisses me off because accuracy check, ranked second in approaches from 125 to 150 yards, like you've been referring to, check. T8 last week and ranked 4th in strokes gained on approach, check. Like he's playing well now after kind of a rough stretch after starting out really on fire. To start the year, or the season anyways, not necessarily the year, but at 35, that's pretty tough for me to get to.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. I might have to bite the bullet though with Tom Kim. I really might have to bite the bullet. Love Morikawa too in a place like this. I do have that worry about making enough putts in an event where I feel like somebody's going to have to get scorching type of hot with the putter, no matter how well you're playing outside of that. But I mean, who knows? Maybe he just puts it next to the pin and just like taps everything in. He very well could do that, and he could get hot. Like you said, he's been putting a lot better lately. So that's definitely an interesting one with Morikawa too. That range is just, I mean, never Tommy at this point for me. I know he's playing really good
on,
golf.
come on. What about that 63 on Sunday when he's not in contention? He always does it.
Yeah, exactly. That's not in contention.
Fucking
So
Tommy.
I can't do it with Fleetwood. I'm sorry.
Tommy's slowly becoming like the golfer I'm losing the most money on. Like Tommy's costing me dry right now.
Well, you might have to talk to Corey Connors about that
The
too.
thing with Corey Connors is I only have to throw like $5-10 on him a week because he's usually at some pretty high odds. We're getting Tommy in the like 25, 35, 45 to 1 range where I'm throwing some decent schmeckles out there on him that's making me a little upset. So
Yeah, that's more than just Taco Bell money that you're putting on Corey Connors.
Yeah, for real.
Damn it. Yeah, I mean, I will say I think 40 once we get to 40 range here, 40 to 1 Russell Henley, Ricky Fowler 45 to 1, 45 to 1 Max Homa, Hideki is 45 to 1, Siwoo Kim 45 to 1. We'll kind of stop there because that's a lot there, and I don't want to get to the Windy City Flyer yet. Wow, Ricky. We already talked about, what could have been this last week. I think the golf world was kind of pulling for him too. It was him and it was Rory that really received the most love this past week. It felt like, but the models love him. The models love him. Russell Henley 40 to 1. Don't know what I'm doing this week because I'm betting Russell Henley.
I'm for sure betting Russell Henley.
What the fuck are we doing this week, Jack?
Dude, Hollywood Henley, he's on a heater, baby. I mean, he's playing some great golf right now. 7 top 20s, in his last 8 events. Sets up perfectly here for TPC River Highlands. Has a pretty good career history, 3 top 20s and 5 career starts, only 1 miscut. And I've always thought Russell Henley has his best crack at winning on these shorter courses. We saw him pick up his first win since 2017 in the fall at the at Mayakoba down in Mexico. That came on a course that was just north of 7,000 yards. A lot of signs are pointing towards Russell Henley, like the most accurate player on the PGA Tour this season, hits more fairways than anyone, is great from inside 125 to 150 yards, gaining consistently with his wedges. The putter has been consistently good, and he's also a Pete Dye killer, man. I mean, has top 20s in 6 of his last 8 starts on Pete Dye courses, was T19 at the Players, T19 at the RBC Heritage, both Pete Dye courses. He also won on the Web.com tour, which was the previous name for the current Korn Ferry Tour, won there on a Pete Dye course. So there are a lot of things to like about Russell Henley right now. He was another one that we unfortunately missed out on. You haven't seen my article yet, I know, but he was 70 to 1 to open up the week. We missed out on that one. So that's going to hurt.
What the fuck, dude? I hate being on the side that everyone's betting on, though.
I know it's tough, but I still think, man, I still think it's just such a great setup for Russell Henley. Pete Dye killer, does his best work on shorter tracks, got the game going in the right direction right now. Is coming off 2 great finishes at major championships, not at the PGA, but was T4 at the Masters. Really solid finish at the U.S. Open. Yeah, give me some Russell Henley at 40 to 1, man. That's what I'm thinking in this range.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to say much more than that. Kind of fits everything you're looking for at this particular event, and I mean, the accuracy really kind of just sticks out like a sore thumb to me.
Yeah, I do think. I also, just so we don't pass this range. Sorry to interrupt you. I just didn't want to go down before.
No, yeah, I'm not ready to go down either.
I think Hideki, I'm going to bet one of Hideki or Siwoo. I just don't know which one it's going to be at this point in time. I was on Hideki last week, really good ball striking numbers. Kind of struggled a little bit with the putter and also had a terrible Sunday, unfortunately, but continues to hit the shit out of the ball from tee to green. And Siwoo hasn't given me any reason to not be on him at 50 to 1. He found the putter last week, which had kind of plagued him a little bit. Other than that, he's been gaining pretty consistently from tee to green. A very good Pete Dye guy as well. Won the Players Championship before. Loves him some shorter courses. I like Siwoo. Probably, if I had to go right now, I'm probably betting Siwoo over Hideki. But those are the three names that have my interest here. I'll probably only be able to bet two of them, though.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of love for Siwoo Kim this week, too. Yeah, but I don't know. I can't fault you for that. I think this is the spot where he really could pop up. Hideki, 8.6 strokes on approach he gained.
Amazing.
Like, what? What? So, I mean, yeah, Hideki's kind of right there too. If you're looking at stuff that's really more predictable towards the future, if your approach game is on point, I mean, yeah, you're pretty much going to be up there. I feel like a top 20 for Hideki or something of that nature. I don't know what the odds are right now. Maybe they're not great, but a top 20 for Hideki, I might really pull the trigger on that too. But not going to outright bet him or Siwoo this week. Just like I'm not outright betting Wyndham Clark at 50-1 because dude, his balloon, like he's so hungover at this point, probably. Like the guy is probably passed out in a saloon somewhere at this very moment in time, and the tournament starts, not very far away from here, Jack. So like right around the corner, this thing's teeing off, and he's probably just waking up and just hitting the range right before. And he's not getting any practice cuts in, I don't think. Jason Day, speaking of guys who don't like taking practice cuts.
That's good. Why did he change his irons? He was terrible last week. Terrible.
I don't fucking know, dude. He was almost as bad as JT last week. And that's saying something because that guy was fucking awful.
Yo, we're getting some insane numbers on Justin Thomas. I can't believe it's gotten this far. I mean, I know he shot 81 on Friday, but like 60-1? He's damn near Corey Connors now.
I forgot he was even in the field this week.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad, man.
So I don't know.
Cue up Rock Bottom by Eminem.
I'm done with this range though, Jack. I have nothing until we get to 70. You got anybody in there?
No, that's all I had from that range as well.
Yeah, because I don't like the names in here. 70 though, that's where I perk up a little bit, and I'm sure you do too, because you have a hard on for Corey Connors, and he's 70-1. Harris English is 70-1. Brian Harman is 70-1. Shane Lowry is 70-1. Denny, Mac, Adam Scott, and then you have Minwoo Lee just randomly at 90-1 before we get to the 100 range. So 70-1 range. Are you betting Corey Connors and losing your Taco Bell money this week, Jack?
It's such a good course for Corey Connors. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to squeeze him in. I for sure already bet Sahith Theegala though.
Oh, okay.
Could have been the spot for his first career win last year until he gagged it away on the 72nd hole, made a mess in the bunker. Xander ended up winning by 2. It was a real heartbreaker for Sahith, but his odds have kind of dropped throughout the week. And I know he doesn't have any like high end finishes in the last like month or so now, but Sahith has quietly rattled off 20 consecutive made cuts. He's been really consistent all year long. And the weird part about that too is when you go look at his season long statistics, there isn't like one single category that really stands out about him, but everyone knows if you're in the golf community, Sahith is probably like the young up and comer who hasn't won yet. That's like, everyone's like, he's going to win next and he'll probably win a handful of good ones because he has that type of game. He is one of the best players in the world, truthfully, once you get him off the tee box. That's really where all the issues stem from, where Sahith Theegala, he tends to spray it from time to time. But oddly enough, one thing I found when doing some research on Sahith is that on these more positional courses, on Pete Dye setups where he likes to involve strategy and usually distance isn't all that big of a factor, Sahith tends to gain strokes off the tee. He's actually gained strokes in 5 of his 6 career tournaments at the Players Championship, at Harbour Town, and at the Travelers Championship. All 3, of course, were designed by Pete Dye. So those courses where maybe he's able to club down and doesn't have to worry about hitting it so far, there might be something to that. And considering he had a high-end finish here last year, the ball striking has been great, gained an approach in 9 of 12, gained with the putter in 12 of 15. I think the time is right for Sahith to go and have a redemption story this week. I mentioned earlier the Waste Management Phoenix Open is a potential crossover in leaderboards that we've seen. Sahith Theegala almost had his first career win at the Waste Management Phoenix Open prior to the Travelers last year as well. So take that for what you will, but
it's a good callback.
Yeah, I'm on Sahith for sure this week, and his odds have only gotten bigger. I was writing him up and was going to bet him at 66-1 earlier today. It's gotten up to 70 on PointsBet. So I'm in on Sahith for sure at 70. I don't know if I have the mental fortitude to not bet on Corey Connors. Harris English, you mentioned really good week at the US Open last week. He's kind of turned it around ever since I bet him at the PGA where he was dog shit and missed the cut. Funny how that works. But I think he's really interesting. And I think Adam Scott at 80-1 is too big of a number. I'd probably lean more towards Harris English, honestly, but there's still some names down here. And even the Weasel, Brian Harman, like if there's one course for the Weasel, it's here. I'm not going to bet the Weasel. I hate him. I watched him for 5 minutes at the US Open on Friday, and he took 30 minutes to get a ruling. I literally didn't want to watch a second more of Brian Harman playing golf again in my entire life. It was fucking ridiculous. So, I'm not going to bet the Weasel for those reasons in particular, but lots to like in this range for real.
Nobody can waste your time more than the DMV or Brian Harman and Patrick Cantlay.
And Scotty Scheffler. We didn't talk about that, by the way. Did you see the drop that he got from on Sunday? Did you see that by chance?
Scotty?
Yeah, sorry to take this in a completely different direction for a second, but
yeah, no. Tell me about this drop though, because I don't really remember.
Scotty is notorious for getting relief out of nowhere.
Oh, wait a second. Yes, I know what you're talking about, because it was like, well, how the fuck did you get that break? It was like behind the tree, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
And it wasn't the tree though. It was the power line. It's a wire. It's a cable wire that's this big. That's holding up the shot track. So you can get all the data from the course. The wire was that much in his way, and he gets a free drop after he was absolutely dead. Duck hooked a tee ball far left, gets rewarded out of it. Fortunately, he makes bogey, but it's just like, dude, Scotty's almost becoming a villain with how many fucking free drops he gets. It's absolute bullshit, honestly.
That is bullshit. I don't really understand. He doesn't need any help.
No, he doesn't need any help. And I hit Twitter with the Jesse Pinkman, he can't keep getting away with it gif, because he just does. Every single time. Scotty Scheffler doesn't need help. All right. He's going to get up and down from anywhere. Don't give him help.
Yeah, that's
anyways,
stupid.
Continue.
Yeah, anyways.
Continue.
But I like.
I apologize.
No, and I'm glad that you're bringing that up, though, because I think I'm going to like extremely watch for even more times where this happens now with Scotty, because why is it that the guy that's like the best tee to green player and just everything in the world right now is getting breaks? He should not be the one. It should be your guy that's like 400-1 on the card starting.
I'm so sick of it, Joey.
So, yeah, well, and he's still not winning, so sucks for him, I guess. So, he has some wins, but nonetheless, at T3.
He's not doing too bad.
He's not doing too bad. I do like Harris English a lot this week, though. That's, you talked about the T8 at the U.S. Open, won here in 2021. Short game around the green and putting remains really good. Solid driving accuracy. Of golfers that made the cut at the U.S. Open, Mr. English gained the most strokes putting on the field.
Killed it.
So, and I think you're going to have to putt really well this week. I think you're going to make a lot of birdies. I think Harris English absolutely can do that. So I'm in on Harris English at 70-1, or maybe even a better number, because I haven't bet it yet technically. So really like Harris English. The little weasel.
No, don't do it.
Should I not do it?
It's your money, but you can just light it on fire right now. It's the same result.
I'd rather bet it now instead of the scrub events where he's like 10-1, 12-1.
He doesn't win those either.
Okay. 5 of his last 8 Travelers Championships, he's finished inside the top 10. Good course fit, like you said. Maybe. All I'm saying, 70-1. If he's gonna waste our time, at least make me some money while you're wasting my time. So
I get that. I just, I don't know if I can get myself to watch Brian Harman all day on Sunday if he's in contention and actually root for him.
Well, you're still gonna watch.
I'm going to watch, but I don't know if I can convince myself to root for Brian Harman.
Okay, fine. But if I bet on him, you better be rooting for him if you don't have anybody in contention. So,
no promises.
All right. So with that said, though, the rest of the guys around this area, say no to drugs, kids. Don't bet Corey Connors. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I meant that more for Adam Scott. Keegan Bradley, though, I guess we'll just skip to 101 and any flyers we have. I mean, there's a lot. We could bring up every freaking name. Let's not do that. I'll start with Keegan Bradley, though, 100-1. And then you got some interesting names here. Ludwig, Aberg, Austin Eckroat. I've seen somebody on Austin Eckroat, actually, too, this week. The Rye Bread. Aaron Rye, 125-1, who I am betting this week. Jack, who are your long bombs? Give me your just 100-1 plus. Just start rattling them.
Yeah, there are names down here that I like for sure, and I just think it's a type of tournament, man, where we certainly can see anyone can really win this tournament. We've seen Ches Reavie and Dustin Johnson win in back-to-back years. When Harris English won, we saw him dueling it out with Kramer Hickok, who Lord knows what he's been up to literally ever since he lost that playoff. I could not tell you. Like, people can be in contention here, so I am willing to take a little stab at some guys. You mentioned Keegan. Anytime you get Keegan in the Northeast, it's worth a look. I have seen the love, lots of love for Austin Eckroat this week after a really solid Sunday at the U.S. Open as well. The two that I've been on the most, been eyeing the most, I guess you should say. Number one has been Mark Hubbard, and I went into the weeds with Mark Hubbard this afternoon. Joey, and he was involved in my article. And what I found, I started off my column by saying Mark Hubbard was absolute.
What are his odds even?
175-1.
Holy shit. All right, tell me what you found.
Huge number. Dude was dog water to kick off 2023. Missed the cut in 5 of his first 8 starts to kick off the new calendar year. No finish better than 35th. But in the last month, in his last 8 events, he has found something. And it's really been led by the putter. The ball striking, he actually is top 30 on tour this season in strokes gained approach. The ball striking has been great. He's gained on approach in each of these 8 starts since he's kind of had this resurgence. But where I'm going with the putter is actually what I noticed during that rough stretch of his, because let me find it in my article so I can make sure that I quote it correctly. So in his first 13 starts of the year, those were the 13 starts prior to his last 8 where he's been good. In those first 13 starts, he gained strokes putting 4 times, Joey. Those results were T21, T5, T20, and T35. And then during this most recent run of his, he's gained with the putter in 6 of his last 8. In those 6 starts, his finishes are T11, T18, T27, T9, and T6. So basically when Mark Hubbard putts, he's right there. And as I referenced, the approach has been great. He's been gaining there consistently. Like Sahith, there are some concerns about his ability off the tee, but I'm willing to take a chance at 175-1 on a course where you can club back, where it's easier to hit the fairways, and where he can rely on that approach game and just hopefully keep it rolling with that putter of his. So at 175-1, absolutely willing to take a chance on Mark Hubbard. The other one, 175-1 as well, CT Pan, who was absolutely lost for the longest time, but in his last 2 starts, 4th place at the Byron Nelson, 3rd at the Charles Schwab, gained across the board in all 4 categories. He's a guy we've seen win at a Pete Dye course at Harbor Town Golf Links not all that long ago, and usually is one of those guys that you prefer on accuracy and positional courses. I think this place sets up really well for him, and we've seen CT Pan come back to life in his last 2 events. So those are the 2 that I've for sure locked in already. But there are more names that I'm curious in. Andrew Putnam, whenever there's a place you need to putt, Andrew Putnam randomly pops up there. I swear to God, the dude just, anytime putting is important, he's there. Justin Suh, has been continuing to just ride that hot putter of his. I think It's going to be hard for me to pass him up since I've been talking about him for the last month during that stretch. I've also liked, Chez Reavie. I was just about to get there as well. A guy who's won this tournament. He's literally all over the place. You never know what you're going to get from Chez Reavie, but this is one of those courses where it's worth taking a flyer on him. I've looked at Patrick Rogers. There's been a lot of names down here. Those are it for the most part. I don't think I'm going to get any deeper than 175 to 1. But if I were, it would be Chez Reavie at 300 or your boy, the Hoagie Buns himself,
Wedge.
Tom Hoagie at Wedge. It's all he can do. I mean, he's been so bad. Tom Hoagie's been so bad.
Yeah,
he can hit a wedge.
Awful.
Tom Hoagie can hit a wedge.
Just coming off a missed cut, but this is the type of place where I think, I'm.
Give me your shout outs for the sake of shout outs.
Yeah, shout outs for the sake of shout outs. I do really like Aaron Rai, T3 at the RBC.
I kind of want to start calling him the Reuben. Can we just start calling Aaron Rai the Reuben?
He's always on Rye Bread as Reuben.
He's the Reuben.
I like that.
There we
Let's
go.
call him the Aaron Reuben.
The Reuben, baby.
But T3 at the RBC Canadian Open, obviously an accuracy guy. Another guy that's a really good from 125 to the 150 yard approach shot bucket. So if we're looking at that as like a key area, I definitely think this is the place where he can get hot with the putter too. So I like Aaron Rai this week, which is not surprising. Or I like Reuben, sorry.
The Reuben himself, baby.
Did I stutter? Reuben stuttered. Let's see here. Who else am I looking at here in this range? Or like long odds guys. I mean, I got to shout out Thomas Dietrich just for the sake of it.
I have heard Dietrich love this week, to be honest. You're not the first.
Eric Cole is always interesting to me.
Just playing good golf. Playing
very good golf. I don't understand the Steven Jägermeister thing this week, though.
The love for him or the number?
Huh?
The love for him or the number?
The love for him. I don't understand it. I mean, I'm sure I know there's reasons behind it, but I just don't like Jägermeister's not winning this week. I just don't see that.
He's a DFS play. He's rattling off cuts. I don't know if he's going to win.
Sure, yeah, he's probably going to make the cut, but let's see here. I'm just going to kind of scroll down here as I think about this.
For the sake of just throwing it out there, we haven't talked about him yet. Do you have any love for Ludwig Aberg or Sam Bennett, 250 to 1? I know Michael Thorbjornsen, who came fourth here last year out of Stanford, is in this tournament. Ben James, who won 5 times in individual in college this season as part of the field as well. You got any love for the youngsters at all?
I like the Texas Tech kid. I'm not quite sure. I'm not going to bet him, but I totally get that move. And Sam Bennett, I think we both have talked about how much we really like him and think, we were just messaging about how we think he's going to be like the real deal. And you've been telling me that too. So Sam Bennett, maybe not the best place for him, but 250 to 1 is a large number.
Huge.
I mean, maybe air out of the balloon a little bit too for the energy it took, like you were saying off air, but totally like Sam Bennett, just pretty much wherever it seems like. Justin Suh, though, I'm glad you mentioned Justin Suh. That is a golfer I'm betting this week. 175 to 1 here on the Bet Rivers Enhanced odds. Not quite sure if that's the best number or whatever, but inside the top 30 each of his 2 majors this year, including last week. Good putter, 11th in strokes gained putting, fairly accurate off the tee. I do think Justin Suh, who's somebody who you've been on quite a bit, makes a lot of sense. Outside of that, really haven't given a whole lot of thought as far as like long bombs here. I'm a Kurt Kitayama guy, but he looked awful this last week.
He did.
So I can't go back there right now, but Kevin Streelman's another name where I think we should at least mention it. Has a win and a runner-up here, and 8 of his 15 top 40s at this event and course. So I'm taking a top 40 for Kevin Streelman. I don't the outright market, I think that's pretty dead for him right now. But top 40 for Kevin Streelman for me, just for prop bets. You got any prop bets or any other like long outrights here?
Honestly, remind me to take that Streelman top 40. That's a good bet. I'm never gonna bet Kevin Streelman to win a tournament ever.
Right. I have done it though. I have done it, not gonna
lie. Streelman is the king of a good old top 6, and you never knew he was there, but cashed the check and dipped. I'm still chasing the first round leaders, man. Still chasing the first round leaders. It's probably the only props I'm gonna get to. The Weasel. I'll root for him round 1.
What?
80-1. Brian Harman.
Okay.
I've talked about this. Brian Harman is a must first round leader bet the week after the major. He's the best player historically the week after a major. It's when he does all his best weasel work and gets himself into these majors somehow because he has tie-in finishes.
His best weasel work.
Yeah, he just weasels his way around. I'm willing. I'll root for the Weasel in round 1 as well. Maybe this is where I should just bet Tommy. Just hope he can turn that 63 into a 63 in round 1. I also the one that I did want to point out here on the show, I haven't exactly finalized like who I want to bet in the first round leader. The one I do want to bet for sure is Mackenzie Hughes, 150-1. He's been the first round leader here twice in his career. That's all I need to know to bet a guy at 150-1 to be the first round leader. And I know Mackenzie Hughes can get hot with the putter. That's basically all he can do. And if he can just hit fairways and hit greens and ride that hot putter, 150-1 to be the leader in round 1, I'm going to take that. But other than that, I haven't really finished who I want to bet here yet. But that's all the props I'm going to have this week.
Where has he been? Where has he been?
Hey, he made the cut last week at the U.S. Open. I actually don't know how. I think he did it literally all with putting because looking at his data golf numbers, he lost marginally everywhere. He only lost 0.15 around the green, 0.17 on approach, 0.13 on the tee. So like wasn't losing substantially, but gained 1.16 strokes with the putter en route to a T49 finish, which is pretty impressive considering he missed the cut at the PGA, the Memorial, and the RBC Canadian Open. For him to just even make the cut is pretty solid. So yeah, there's literally no other reason for me to take Mackenzie Hughes other than I know he can get hot with the putter, and he's been the first round leader here twice. All I need.
Good enough for me for first round leaders because I don't have any knowledge with first round leaders or any idea who's going to be the first round leader any given week.
Yeah, it's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot, man. I shouldn't be invested in this market, but I am. Here we are.
Well, hey, sometimes you gotta find what can ease you off of Corey Connors any way possible. If this is what does it,
he's breaking my heart.
And I really like Corey Connors, by the way. I'm just giving you shit. But
he only wins at Valero. He doesn't win anywhere else, and I probably should start realizing it.
It's coming, dude. Don't hop off the train. Really do not hop the train.
Dude, I actually just realized something hilarious. So my brother lives in San Antonio, and he asked me like a few weeks ago if I ever wanted to come down there and play their local course. Completely forgot it's TPC San Antonio, where my boy Corey Connors has his only 2 wins with PGA Tour career. How funny is that?
You have to play that course.
I just thought about it. I absolutely have to now.
That's a must, and you need to record it too.
Maybe I'll even buy myself a plaid jacket and jump in a pickup truck and take like cute Corey Connors photos like I
Do it, man. Do it. Oh my God. Yeah, please send me the footage.
I will.
Yeah, outside of that, man, for props though, like you were asking, I think Justin Suh, top 40. Streelman, like I said. I mean, who else? These longer odds. I don't know what Eric Cole is for a top 40, but I would consider that. Same with Aaron Rye. Probably go top 30 for Aaron Rye. Yeah, that's about it. I don't have any crazy head-to-heads yet or anything. I don't think I'm going to do that this week. So
I forgot one guy, Joey. I forgot one guy. I'm sorry, and he is worth talking about because he is our boy too. Adam Schenk.
Oh boy.
I think he's 300-1.
No, he's not. Is he really?
I could have looked at a bad number. No, he's a buck 50-1.
Okay, that makes more sense. Well, 300-1, I'm betting him too.
I mean, Shank's been good.
How come I don't see him?
He missed the cut last week at the U.S. Open, but was T7 at the Memorial, second at the Charles Schwab, and also second at the Valspar, which I mentioned earlier. There's been some crossover in leaderboards there.
I see him at 175 right now.
Love it.
Even better.
Love it. I think we have to.
Fuck.
Dude, so last week he still gained with the approach, as he's done in 5 straight starts. He still gained with the putter. He's now done that in 3 in a row. He just lost 1.13 off the tee, which he is capable of doing every now and then. But for the most part this season, he gains off the tee and is usually more on the accurate side. So I might have to get on Schenk now that I think about it. I might have talked myself into that.
Yeah, you might have talked me into it.
Let's do it.
Unfortunately, because every time I bet him, I just don't do it. Doesn't work out well, even though I like him.
Dude, approach and putting. He's good at that. He can do those things.
You know who finished second here last year?
JT Poston, who's 300-1. I saw that number. Massive.
The Postman might be interesting here.
What's he been up to? Let me check out the Postman real quick. I'm guessing he's been dog shit if he's 300.
Well, he was cut last week. T38 at the Memorial.
T10 at the Valspar too.
Yeah, good course comp. Waste Management, though, he was cut.
T6 at the American Express, which also does involve Pete Dye West.
He's so, like, where do you get he's so out of the nowhere. Like, you don't know when for Postman.
Yeah, his approach numbers have been pretty shit.
What was he last week in approach? Oh, my God. He lost
Bad.
true strokes gain minus 1.13 on
bad.
Data Golf.
Bad.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm going to save my money with Postman, but
I think I'd rather bet Schenk.
I would too, because he's actually our boy.
He just hung in there at the Memorial. That's a big boy tournament.
Yeah.
Look, Adam Schenk missed the cut at the U.S. Open. Fucking surprise. Like,
I wouldn't expect. I mean, yeah, it's fine. Everybody missed the cut. That was guys that were good were missing the cut too. I mean, it wasn't just JT. I mean, yeah, you had Mr. Switch's irons, Jason Day too.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys, though, for the most part, that we thought would be in contention, just kind of not to go back to the U.S. Open, but a lot of the guys that we thought would be in contention wound up towards the top of the leaderboard this last week. So we were right there, Jack. It wasn't just Wyndham Clark. Like, we were there in a lot of different senses this past week.
I had guys shooting well. We talked about Hideki. I had an hour on Hideki. He just was great with his irons, just couldn't putt. Xander melted down on the weekend. Victor just felt like he was in neutral the whole time, and kind of same with John Rahm. He couldn't make a putt all week either, but like all of those guys had good tournaments. So even though I didn't hit an outright, I know you did, of course, I still do feel good about where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing. How do you feel about your process? And I think we both feel pretty good. So we'll see what happens this week, obviously, at the Travelers. But until then, Jack, any final thoughts before we go ahead and wrap this puppy? Oh, we're one and done.
Yeah, I was about to say, give me the one and done real quick before I throw a final thought. Well, it's still my turn.
It is.
For now, because you're creeping in here. And this is where we're starting to get to the nitty gritty here. I mean, I had to think about this one a little bit, and I'm still thinking. Let me take one last look at some guys. I've already taken Henley. That's kind of who I did want to use this week. I'm gonna take I'm gonna take Tommy if I haven't used him already. Let me double check.
I feel like you have.
No, you used Tommy. Third week of the season. You used Tommy at the Zozo in Japan.
Why did I take him?
I don't fucking know. I had idol Hideki in Japan, and he finished.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that episode just to see what my reasoning was.
Yeah, I don't know. That is a random fucking pick. But I'm gonna take I was between Morikawa and Tommy, but I'm taking Tommy.
You're taking Tommy. All right.
Yeah, Tommy.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Chris Kirk and Keith Mitchell, are they even in this tournament this week? I don't think they are.
No, they're not.
Neither one of them are?
No, you've already used Chris Kirk already too.
No, I wasn't thinking for one and done. I thought they'd be interesting here.
No, they're not in this tournament.
Okay. Yeah, one and done. Man. Have I taken Henley?
No, you have not taken Russell Henley.
All right. Well, the models love him. So do I.
There you go. I actually am upset that you still have him available because that's who I wanted to use in the one and done. And if he has a good week, he could pass me.
Hoping for it, man. I'm hoping for it. I don't know how I picked up some steam or picked up some ground this past week. It was only because it was the double points system that you put into play here for the majors. And then because Xander was like, he was right there. I mean, you're talking about 10 points extra because what was it, T10? So you got 20 points last week. And then I had the T3. So if I'm ahead of you, it wasn't double points for me too. It wasn't 6 points. It was just 3.
It was just 3 for you. It's only double points for the loser. It wouldn't make sense to like punish the winner the same amount that you punish the loser.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I don't know what else to say, Jack. We're at 1:15 now. A little bit longer. We had a lot to talk about with the U.S. Open, though. That's really what took up a lot of the time this week. But always fun talking to you. Always great hopping on these shows. And definitely everyone should go and check out 2 articles from Jack this week because he's been cranking out just about every week with 2 articles now. It's incredible to see. Go to ontapsportsnet.com to check out all the Chicago sports-related content, golf content, bets content, you name it, Cubs, Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, even the White Sox. And I say that because I'm a Northsider fan, so is Jack. You can see right there behind him. He's got some Cubs here.
I was about to say, what gave it away?
Yeah, right. Oh, is it the all blue background or the signed baseballs or yeah, he's a Cubs fan too. But yeah, Jack, any final thoughts before we go ahead and hop on out of here and look forward to the Travelers Championship?
I was in the weeds this week. I did some deep digging on TPC River Highlands because I think this is a really cool course and it's different than what we've seen for quite some time now. We've been getting narrow fairways, longer courses, lower scoring. I'm usually not an advocate for easier events where we see a lot of birdies, but this is one of them where I actually am super excited and I'm glad that they made this a designated event because unlike LA and their fans, the Northeast goes fucking hard with golf and they always show out at the Travelers Championship. So those fans are deserving of a really good field this week. And yeah, like I said, I think it's up for grabs for anyone. We've seen Kramer Hickok in a playoff year with Harris English. The winners here have been as random as they can be, really, with Kevin Streelman even getting the job done here. So it's all shaping up to be a really intriguing tournament and should be a fun final designated event of the season, Joey.
I'm all for it. And I do appreciate the extra digging you did coming off a major because it would have been easy to just kind of, let's float into this next one. And you were like, nope, elevated event. We're ready to go. It's the final designated event. So you were just kind of, I'm diving full deep into this thing and came with that extra research, super prepared, my man. So totally appreciate that. If you're not following the YouTube page, go ahead and go to YouTube, the OnTap Sportsnet page, subscribe, hit the like button. It definitely helps out all of our shows because it's not just Golf on Tap, but we do all the other Chicago sports shows. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at OnTap Golf. You can follow Jack at Jack Bushman 2. You can follow me at Joey Knows Nothing. Until next week, good luck with your bets. Crack them, lock them, and fuck them.